is either going to be a productive chat or I'm going to be chopped up and put in a suitcase.
Representing someone for a murder or something like that, and you're getting paid £200 for that.
I lost my dad. HA was always an idea, even though I took hardly any bereavement leave. I was just like, I don't think I want this.
One of the things that kills entrepreneurial spirit is the fear of failure, the risk.
I like the idea of danger.
I don't do PJs. I won't spend proper money on hotels, anything like that.
But when I got COVID, in a ward of 12 people, 9 died. FaceTime with my wife and just said to her, it's not good.
We kind of lost our dad starting that business. We just started to see it take off. We had to make that a success.
Called the death row meal, last meal.
Well, I'm vegan, so it'd just be lettuce.
So while we're here, we've obviously got Tom to my right, Andrew to the left of Holman Adams, and cars, which are surrounding us, are probably the common denominator. I was saying to Tom when he arrived that the biggest car purchase I ever had was the F12, and I remember watching Tom's early videos where the anxiety of getting a service for an F12 was building.
Yep.
And but in particular, when it came to that purchase of the F12, on my way here, I was thinking to myself, Tom must be thinking, why is he coming here? What's the point?
When I was driving up the track here into the farm, I thought this is either going to be a productive chat with a load of nice cars and a load of civilized people, or I'm going to be chopped up and put in a suitcase. Finally, someone that I've replied to in my comments and been rude to, it's going to catch up with me. So I'm quite, well, unless I'm going to get chopped up at the end of this, in which case this is evidence. But
a pin location.
No, I knew you were
in the middle of a farm.
In the middle of a farm.
Yeah, and be fed to the pigs.
No ways.
No, I know you are. Right? Like, yeah, I still wasn't 100% sure I wasn't going to get killed, but I'm quite pleased that it looks like I'm not.
That's interesting because the F12 was a car I wanted to buy. I remember watching Clarkson on the review of it, and when he mentioned it was, in fact, anything but too fast. But at that point, when your business is doing well and you're about to spend that kind of money, you have to be sure. And yeah. I just remembered Googling F12, your videos were popping up, and they were very honest reviews. You know, there were years and years back when you were doing it in the early days before anyone else. And I remember you just messaged back on Instagram instantly, and I thought, this guy's really busy. You know, we're busy people. We always get back to people. And then what really stood out is when you responded back, you just said, look, if you get it, be careful. It's lethal. And yep. I like the idea of danger. So
they are lethal, though. You'll vouch for the fact they are absolutely lethal, those things. They are. Because I watched the Clarkson review, obviously, as well, and he was saying they're absolutely frantic because all the buttons are behind the steering wheel, and they're so darty. Like, you just move the wheel a little bit and you're in another lane. And there's so much power at the back. They're complete chaos. They keep you on your toes, those things.
Well, I had no idea. I was saying this to Andrew, that when I got that, I remember it arrived from the guys on the trailer and in the Grigio Silverstone. And I thought, right, I needed a plate. And when I spoke to you today, I thought I've always been pretty good at original ideas, but I did copy you because you'd had TG, F12 TG.
Send you an invoice for that.
Yeah,
royalties.
You can royalties. And then I went with F12 LLB, and then when I pinged it back to you, you never asked me about that, about the LLB side, obviously not, but then somehow you mentioned about starting your law degree. So
Yeah.
So what happened?
So during my A-levels, I couldn't think of anything to do at university. I didn't want to go and do like a degree in like media or throwing or shouting or whatever, you know, just one of these pointless degrees. So I wanted to do a degree, at least that when it got written on my CV, someone looked at it and went, you might have a brain. So I wanted something that was at least credible. But my twin brother and I, we kind of wanted to set up a criminal law firm together. He did the BVC, I did the LPC. So right, okay. Solicitor route for me, for those that don't know about these things. So LPC, solicitor stuff. And then my brother, he got a scholarship to Gray's Inn to do BVC.
Wow.
So he was going to go into criminal bar work, and I was going to do the tell the sausage at the police station to say no comment. That was all I could be trusted.
That's basically what we do.
Well, yeah, and like bail applications and all that kind of stuff.
It's uncanny.
So that's what I wanted to do, and I could pass the not the sausages up the chain, but like the people up the chain to him, and we were going to. It's going to be called Exton and Exton, and you know this was the grand idea. But we quickly realised we'd have to do several years working for someone else, earning like tuppence, being absolutely beasted, and we had just set up a fitness company around the same time. Before we could just around the end of going to law school, we'd set up this fitness company. It was starting to take off. So my brother did some like work experience, not a pupillage. What was he doing? Whatever. Neither of us really got into it. I started working in finance, doing sort of legal type stuff on like trading floors and things, not in the legal department, not in the compliance department, somewhere between the two, doing that kind of stuff. And then it just never happened. And actually for the best, because I don't know what would have gone on. And around that time as well, people were saying, bear in mind I came out of my studies in 2008, so people are gonna work out my age. 2008, there weren't many jobs flying around, let's be honest. And legal aid stuff, which was particularly what I wanted to go into, and the pot that we were going to be drawing from, and that effectively where our remuneration was going to be coming from, was falling apart. So people were saying to me, Tom, don't go into doing police station duty, legal aid work. You know, there's not that much cash in it. There's horrible hours and whatever, which I actually quite liked. The idea, I hate routine. So it kind of just got binned, and then the fitness company did quite well, and we were making enough money doing bits and bobs like that, and it was like a lifestyle business as well. We really enjoyed what we did, and I was obviously working in the city, and you know that was money for a rope really. It was fairly standard hours, and yeah, it never happened. But I don't know now, looking back, whether or not we should have just done that, built a law firm, and then sold it. Maybe I could have retired by now.
It's interesting because you and your brother had a very specific idea of one doing the LPC, one doing the BBC. And when you said about sending the cases to him, I mean that was some serious planning and thinking, because that's, you know, two brothers going into the LPC and the BBC. But when you said people were telling you about don't go into legal aid, it's exactly what we were told. I was told by a great, now retired Court of Appeal judge, if you do it, go private. Yeah. And then the question was, how do you go private?
Yeah.
How do you build?
We just didn't know, and we didn't have any friends doing it. There was no, like our parents weren't in it. We didn't have any mates doing it. Like we didn't know anyone in that field. It was just me and my brother. And this was days before like social media and stuff. We didn't have a network. We didn't have a following. Now I just put out an Instagram story. But who wants to start a law firm with me? And I'd probably start one next week. But back then.
Yeah, no, I remember at the start of my career, I was doing work experience. I said, love this, it's fascinating, love the work. And the partner at the law firm that I was doing work experience said to me, you'll love it, it'll be great, but you'll live in a semi-detached house and you drive a Ford Escort. I was like, okay.
Perfect, cheers mate.
We'll see. Yeah, exactly. We're like, we'll find a way of making that work if you're passionate about something.
What did you come in today?
G-Wagon today.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah. He was wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Not strictly true, mate. But
you know what though, there are some really good legal aid lawyers who do it for the passion. 100%. We know a lot of them, and everyone's worked hard to get where they are. But it's all relative, isn't it? Yeah. To what you want. What's a police station now, do you reckon?
£200. £200. You could be there for 6 hours representing someone for a murder or something like that, and you're getting paid £200 for that.
Yeah, not ideal. That wouldn't cover the fuel now, would it?
No, exactly.
Yeah, not on the G-Wagon, it wouldn't anyway. Maybe in a Tesla or other electric car.
Are available.
60. I was told it was about 60 odd quid an hour back then. But I thought that was good. I mean, it is good. Don't get me wrong. That's crazy money. So I was like, 60 pound an hour. That's pretty decent. But then if you're only getting like a couple of hours a day, if that, and getting woken up at 3 a.m, it starts becoming less interesting. So
I qualified into legal aid. Started doing legal aid work. So did Adam actually, briefly, and I did. There was a night where I got called out to do a police station at 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And then I had a trial, which I was doing in the magistrate's court, which started at 9 o'clock in the morning. So got back at 4 o'clock, and then you've got to be in a fit state of mind to be representing someone who's got a lot at stake. Doesn't matter if they've been in trouble before or whatever, they've still got a lot at stake. With 3 hours sleep or less than 3 hours sleep, it's just not healthy. So Adam and I, both on different paths at this stage, wanted to find a way of doing something that we were passionate about and we enjoyed, but making it worthwhile as well. Yeah. And here we are, kind of 12 years on from me qualifying, and we made it work.
It's interesting because I don't remember about what law school was your law school?
Bristol.
Derby.
Cardiff.
So you try and think about the numbers on this and work with me. So at my law school at the start, there was 140 people who subscribed. They had a mock courtroom, huge courtroom, very impressive, and the budget must have been pretty good. And then every year, it got slowly down. When it came to the graduation, there was 80 of us. Yeah. And it was only recently when we're doing this whole piece and documentary, and I started to realise about the numbers who started. That's 100 people who signed up, 80. Now, out of that 80, I don't really keep in touch with the alumni, but conservatively over the grapevine, I think there's probably 16 of us who are practicing.
Yeah.
So where you were smart and your brother was, if you both wanted to do this tomorrow, you could do it easily. The mindset you and your brother have got, it would work. But to get that far down the line, thinking, you know what, to think that way is so impressive, from one doing the BBC, one doing the LPC, two twin brothers doing that, that's a killer business right there, you know, in that early stage. Yeah. But to come out of it and not commit to it, we've got people we know loosely now who committed, who live a very sad life. They're not happy within criminal law. We're getting put into difficult positions where they want to work with us. And the problem is, Tom, is they come and there's this like a buds period where it's 6 to 12 weeks of getting used to private practice, and they'll go.
Really?
Yeah.
So you don't think I made a bad move?
I think your move was clever, based at that time, where rather than just going into it, it could have been a big commitment early on, early insurance, early loans. I don't think it's a bad thing you did, but I think it's an itch you should scratch.
I don't know if anyone out there would want me representing them.
I think you do well.
Do you think there are hurdles between getting your law degree? There obviously are hurdles in terms of steps you've got to go through, but why is it so few people, do you think, get a law degree and then end up not practicing as a solicitor or barrister?
Well, when I was at law school, doing the LPC, a lot of people around me had been doing work experience whilst they were doing their degree and sort of massaging and lubing people in law firms ready to come out, get a training contract and all the rest of it. Yep. I didn't do any of that lubing. I was too busy focusing on my own bits and bobs, and I just thought, I'll just sort it out at the end. And I went straight through from A-levels to uni to law school, and I didn't do any gap years or anything like that. I didn't have the money, didn't have any interest in doing that. And I was like, I'll just sort it out afterwards, and maybe take a year out, and I'll sort it then. And then when I came out of it, I was like, A, the money's gone. B, actually, I am really sick of law. I think land law put me off.
It's bizarre you say that.
It put me off life, let alone law. I just thought, do you know, how does anyone get anything done? This is ridiculous. This process is a mess.
It's uncanny what you just said.
But how is it such a mess?
Yeah.
Can someone sort that out? And actually, it came in useful because I was buying my own properties. My solicitors actually screwed a few things up, so I was actually helping them out with stuff and whatever. It's a complete mess.
Yeah.
But landlord destroyed my passion, not
Took
just
my
for law,
mojo.
but for life. I got completely put off it. And the LPC as well, like there's lots of annoying modules like letter writing and all this kind of guff. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I actually just don't, I'm sick of law. I want to just go into a bank and I can probably, because early training contract money was not great. Some of the Magic Circle firms, okay, but not worth 16-hour days. If you divided it by, if you did a 16-hour day, actually, even if you were on, I'm not going to mention numbers because people get upset, but you're on minimum wage. And you're having to basically sleep at the office and all that kind of stuff, or you're getting called out early hours and just being absolutely beasted as the work experience kid, or doing an internship. Yep. And I couldn't do it, and my business was taking off, and I just thought, you know what, actually, I might not need to go this route. So yeah.
So you and I at that stage had different experiences. So that was my foot in the door, working for free, because you had your business on the side, the fitness business, which was successful. Yeah. You had your way of monetizing something and running with that. Yeah. But my head was very much in the game of how do I become a criminal lawyer? Yeah. So I did work experience, I got a foot in the door, and just bizarre turn of events. So I did a week's work experience, and I was about to leave on the Friday and saying thank you for the opportunity and all of this, and that would have been the end of it. And then one of the partners said to me, what are you doing next week? I said, nothing, I probably need to get a job for the summer before I go back to university. He said, we've got a murder trial starting on Monday. You can sit behind counsel, so barrister, senior barrister, silk, junior barrister, sit behind them, just take a note of everything everyone says. I was like, yeah, I'll do that. It's going to last 6 weeks, so it will take the whole period before I went back to university, and we're not going to pay you a penny. I was like, yeah, I'll do that. Oh, and we're not paying your expenses either. Don't care, I'll do that. So that was my first case, was sitting behind counsel on a murder trial for 6 weeks at Worcester Crown Court.
And I would have done the same had my head not been turned and I'd just been distracted by sort of pulling money out of the internet in the early days. Yeah, I would have done exactly the same, and that's very much how it was. But I was kind of
If I had a
spoiled.
business which was doing well, though, I'm not sure I would have taken that opportunity. I would have
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I finished my degree, and then I promised a bit of time with mum. I went on a little cruise around the Med with my mum, and she's like, "What are you going to do?" I sent like 50 plus letters. I had one letter which responded back to me from a firm in Oldham in Greater Manchester, and it gave me hope. She just went, "There's no jobs. We know how it feels." And it really stood out for me because it gave me that lifeline to think there must be something out there. Yeah. And the reason why we're sat here today is that whole law student's journey, which is just keep going because everyone else doesn't want you to do well. But I remember I was earning extra money, doing extra work on Hollyoaks, Brookside, Emmerdale, and all that side of stuff was just...
I knew I'd seen you somewhere.
Yeah, the drunk guy on the back of the bus. But I just remember one of the days... in like a waiting room on one of the evening shows, there was a lady sat in a smart suit. I was like, this is quite interesting. Maybe she's a bit overdressed for this scene. And then I looked over at her and she had this notepad and she had says accreditation on the back of it, police accreditation notes. So I said to her, what do you do? And she said, I'm a solicitor for a criminal law firm in Manchester. I'm on call, I'm just at a police station. I'm doing this extra work. I thought the only extra work is like 80 quid, so this it must be really shocking pay. But no, she was adamant that she really enjoyed what she did. Gave me a card, went on holiday with my mum, and then she dropped me a message and said, call me. We've got a massive case, a fraud case called MTech Missing Trader, intra-community fraud, 400 million quid case. It's a really boring job. Can you get to the interview in Manchester? At that stage, I was also working as a waiter in an Asian restaurant, and I looked like the milk tray man. So the only thing I had was black trousers and a black shirt. So I rocked up for this interview, and the boss said, "It's really boring, a bit like Andrew's situation. You're going to sit here, and I want you to go through and paginate 25,000 documents." I was the happiest paginator ever.
Really?
Yeah, and I just knew, like osmosis, once I was in there, I'd get round.
That was it, wasn't it? It's just any kind of opportunity, and then you're in, and it's wild. And now look.
I think everyone, if you're patient enough, you'll get the opportunity to have your foot in the door moment. Yeah. But how long can people be patient for after they've got a law degree?
Zero patience.
Yeah.
None in stock at all. Yeah.
How was running a business with your brother and that relationship between the two of you?
That's a great question.
It's good, to be fair. You've got that inherent trust with your family member.
And a twin.
Yeah.
I mean, we shared a womb, right? So we know each other pretty well.
You can share a business.
We can share a business, shared an umbilical cord or whatever the science is. I don't know. I don't remember. But yeah, you've got that inherent trust. Obviously, you can wind each other up without even vocalizing anything. You can wind each other up almost by telekinesis. Like he can annoy me and I can annoy him without even saying anything. But ultimately, you've got that trust there. I know he'll never screw me over. He'd rather go live in a cardboard box than do me over for a penny, and likewise. And we kind of lost our dad as we were sort of starting that business. So we both reacted to that in the same way, and then we just funneled our minds into the business. And he had just started to see it take off just as he went. So we had that kind of in our head that we had to make that a success. Like it's just, there was no, and luckily we both went the same way on it. And I think we just dealt with our grief the same way, and that we both just went hell for leather into growing this thing and basically just kind of working every hour given to us.
It's interesting. So you touch upon the impact of losing your father and dealing with bereavement. I lost my dad. Holman Adams was always an idea, but decided to just catalyst it immediately when I was working for a big firm. They're a great firm and I learnt a lot. But when they're looking at my numbers, and even though I took hardly any bereavement leave, I was just like, I don't think I want this. I understand why, they're looking at my time recording, and in fact, I was doing well, but I just didn't like the idea of not create my own destiny.
What's the time recording? Sorry to ask a
So,
stupid question. What is that?
Every firm's different. They call it billable hours. So you should be averaging what we call 70 units a day, 7 hours.
7 hours billable, chargeable time a day. So
Okay, yeah, that
if
makes
you're
sense.
doing something which isn't chargeable, like having a lunch break or
So you're
going
meant
to
to
the
be
loo,
writing silly letters and charging hundreds of pounds for them.
Like units of 1 unit, like 6 minutes. So my dad passed away. I'd only just buried him a few days before. 7 days was available for bereavement leave. Only took 3, which was picking up from the morgue, burying him, and then spending some time with the family who came to visit. And in a polite way, they just said, we've not met your hours, month's not ended, but just keep on top of it just in case. If you look historically at the last 2 years, I've exceeded it.
Yeah.
But then that was just the point where I thought, you know what? I always talked about this to my dad about setting up a business and a law firm, and just to get on with it, like you and your brother.
Yeah.
But when you say about, do you think you've dealt with it?
I don't know what dealing with it is. Like probably not in the most healthy way. But I've just had my head down since. It feels like it was last week, and I've just sort of been in a constant hamster wheel of work and just trying to rinse money out of everything I can since. Don't know what for, other than just not focus on how crap it actually is.
it seems like the two of you both used what is a inherently horrific thing to happen to anyone as a driver or a motivator, or was it a distraction? Which one was it? We
used it as fuel, really, and also distraction, I think, at the same time. I think it was a nice dose of both, in that they both kind of cancelled each other out, and it was just, I don't know. We didn't want to just sit around staring at the wall, because obviously then you start focusing on what's rubbish. If you just focus on dealing with thousands of annoying people online and customer service and stuff like that, you don't have time to mope about, because you're dealing with Keith, who's got an issue with something that hasn't turned up and whatever, and you don't get to focus on what's actually sad. You just get to focus on the Shopify thing making noise on your phone.
You become desensitized, don't you?
Yeah.
Do you not feel that? So I always get asked about, it's a question Andrew will answer later, about how do you represent people you know are guilty. That's what we get at the dinner party, and Andrew will follow on from that. But I believe I'm good at what I do, because there's no situation which phases me because of my past and my dad. Bizarrely, I used to have like a fear of heights and spiders. And within about a week, those fears or whatever presented itself. I just think there's nothing really more shit than that situation.
I always say this to people. I said, there's nothing really worse than your parent dropping dead or a family member dropping dead. Every other problem in life, like business stuff, some stuff we've discussed offline, maybe it'll come up in this convo, but I'm not as stressed as I would be because I've been through that. So a lot of this stuff, I just think, what is the worst case? Is my fiance going to die? Are my dogs going to die as a result of this issue that's come up? No. So actually, really, is it surmountable? Yeah. And if it's not, worst case scenario, it's not going to be worse than watching a parent die.
Maybe one of the things that kills entrepreneurial spirit is the fear of failure, the risk. But if you guys both, who obviously had entrepreneurial spirit from that age, had this perception that nothing can be worse than that. So if I do this and it fails, I don't really care, because it's not going to be as bad as that. No. Maybe that made it all seem less risky. Yeah, and I've taken some massive risks over the years, and I think, the only other thing that kills businesses is our new government. But maybe let's not get political. Let's not do that. I'll alienate a lot of your audience, I'm sure. Actually, maybe none of them.
I touched upon the question. I'm quite curious to see what your opinion is, especially with a legal background and just life experience. Is people always see criminal lawyers as the undertakers. There's always something bad happening. You go to dinner parties and people say, how do you represent someone for a sexual offence or rape, things like that? Before Andrew answers his question to that, because he's been asked a few times recently on these interviews, what's your view on people like us representing bad people, apparently?
Well, it's something I wanted to do, so obviously I've got no issue with it whatsoever. But correct me if I'm wrong, if the client tells you, look, I did it, but let's just BS this, all right? Let's just say that I did this instead. You can't represent them, right? That's in your code of conduct.
Yeah,
or
you can't
if they tell you they've done
positively put forward a case where they've told you that that's not true.
Right.
There's this really grey area, and a lot of people don't understand this concept. So it's called putting the prosecution to proof. So say I will use you as an example. Actually, that's unfair.
Use me.
Adam's accused of a burglary.
Right.
Okay. And
Bit boring, but
Not again.
and he's found in a stolen car that was stolen in that burglary. So he would have to accept that he was within a stolen motor vehicle, but said, I'm in the car, but I didn't steal the car. Someone else did that and I got it from them. The prosecution might charge him on the basis that he's in the car less than 24 hours after it was stolen. Yeah. However, he could say, let's put them to proof. Let's see if they can prove that I actually went into that house, because for all they know, I could just be driving this car. I could have picked it up from Joe Bloggs this morning. And if they haven't got his fingerprints and they haven't got any cell site evidence, which is where your phone pings off masks in the area, then they might actually struggle to prove it was him that went in. So we could, in that situation, just say, prosecution, prove it. What we couldn't do is we couldn't say, Adam, what you should do is you should say, you bought this car off a bloke who you bought cars off in the past and he's a bit dodgy, but he turned a blind eye. Yeah. And if he told us that was his case, we couldn't put that positive case forward. Yeah. We can say to the prosecution, you bring this case, you prove it, and you prove it so that a court is sure. So that's a bit of a grey area, but yeah, you're right. If someone tells us, I did it, but I want you to tell them I didn't, and this is what I want you to tell them, then the only way we can represent them then is if they plead guilty.
And if you're doing your job properly, you're a vital part of bringing your client to justice one way or the other. If they've done it, you do your job properly and the other side does their job properly, then your client's going to get found guilty. If they are guilty, and if they're not, they're not. You're a vital part. There needs to be a fair trial. Someone has to represent them, and if you're not making them come out with nonsense and you're not representing them knowing full well they've done it, then actually you're doing nothing wrong. There's nothing immoral there whatsoever. So I don't have any.
It comes down to style. We all have different house styles. When I see a new client, they're bursting to tell you everything, what's happened, what they're accused of. And I always have a golden rule, which is just wait for the prosecution papers. And they look at me at the first conference and say, well, why have I paid for this? I was like, I'm protecting you.
Yeah.
Tell me about your personal life, your wife, your kids, your background, your businesses, how we met, all the past, how we got here today. But don't give me any commentary until I see the hardcore evidence. 90% of the time, do you think, maybe? The evidence arrives, and they look at it like, okay. And they look back at the opinions of what they could have said. I'm not suggesting that they're changing their instructions, but they're not just jumping into it head first. Yeah. Because at the stage of anxiety and crisis, they're coming to you with distorted information, rumor. We've had one particular example I had many years ago was a headmaster accused of something pretty horrific, a sexual assault in a school. And his head was all over the show, very suicidal. And in that particular case, at the first conference, he just wanted to tell me everything. I just said to him, but it's all opinion at this stage. Yeah. You're telling me what the police said you have done, which came from witness statements. Yeah. But I need to hear from you the hard facts. Yeah. But we need you to comment on it. And once you get that right, what I call the theme of the case, you stick to it. Yeah. The problem is a lot of lawyers, not all, is they will push you into a corner with questions, which at that stage commit you thinking, oh yeah, maybe that's right. Yeah. But then the evidence comes, and you end up compromising yourself. And have you heard of professional embarrassment?
Rings a bell. Yeah.
You want to explain the professional embarrassment side?
Yeah. So if someone, similar situation to what you said, if they said, this is what happened, I want you to represent me, and then they give us those instructions up front, and then we get the evidence, and it doesn't quite prove what they've already told us, then we're professionally embarrassed and we have to step out of their case, and they have to go and find a new legal team. So that's why, as desperate everyone is to go, right, this is what happened, this is what you need to know. In doing so, they don't know the law, so they need to be advised on the law before they start talking to us about kind of what they think they have or haven't done. So it's a much more staged process. And look, this is one of the big benefits of private over legal aid. We have that time to be able to slowly drip feed the information out of them. Whereas you spoke about legal aid earlier. If it was a legal aid instruction, it'd be like, right, mate, I've got one conference with you, and then I've got to go off to the police station, and then I've got a 6 magistrates court case. So just let's get this done. Tell me what's going to happen. Okay. And off you go. You've already committed someone to pleading guilty. There was a case that I did. Lady called Sally Bennett Jenkins, KC, brilliant barrister, one of the best. And her and I won a trial last year. 3 years prior to that, the guy had been told by a legal aid lawyer to plead guilty to the offences that he was charged with.
Wow.
And that's such a prime example. And that always sticks in my head is, this is why we do the job. This is why we do what we enjoy doing, but do it properly. So people like him, he's now living in LA. He went to university in America, and the dream was to go back and live in LA and live with a couple of his frat party friends, and he's now doing that.
Any spare rooms?
But if he plead guilty, he would have been on the sex offenders register. He would have had a sexual harm prevention order. Would have gone to prison.
Wow.
And that was a 17-year-old lad.
Good grief. Yeah, it's easy to forget as well. You have actually got people's lives in your hands. It's really, really serious. For you, it might be like one of your 5 appointments that day. But yeah, it's these people.
Yeah, well, fortunately, gone are the
pressure.
days where we have 5 appointments in one day. We're busy, but you sign up to be represented by Holborn Adams, you get Holborn Adams whenever you want it. It's not like,
You're not just a
sorry,
chum.
mate, we probably need to get out of here. You'll never have someone kind of watching the clock whilst you're represented
Not
by
like
Holborn
me with
Adams.
my YouTube videos.
Yeah, skip through this bit.
Get to 8 minutes, sack it off. chuck some ads
Retention
in.
rates.
Yeah.
Talk about overseas. Any think you'll stick around?
I will stick around in this country. Fortunately or unfortunately, I'm going to stick around.
Yeah. What makes you want to keep here? Bearing in mind,
What makes me want
you
to stay
travel a
here?
lot
I
anyway.
actually don't know at the moment. I'm in a particularly negative rut with this country and the state of how people that take risks and start their own business and employ people and, are drivers of GDP, how those people are kind of marginalized, and small business owners particularly. I think that as a country, we've always been quite good. Small business owners have always been quite a key part of the economy and a key driver for a lot of things and a lot of positivity in this country. And they're just being assaulted left, right, and centre. There's just absolutely no incentive these days to do well, to put in the extra graft. So I'm going to stick around. I'm regretting that decision. My fiance doesn't want to go anywhere. I mean, I've discussed potentially disappearing. I'm one of the only ones of my friends that are left in this country.
where have they gone? The
All
majority.
gone to Dubai, all of them. Whether or not I like Dubai, I mean, I don't have any particular problem with it. It's not somewhere I've always wanted to live. I can see the appeal of it, for sure. Not just the tax side of things. There are a lot of positives with Dubai, and it's not somewhere I've got an issue with. I love my dogs. I love going walking in the woods and stuff, and like a bit of mud, a bit of rain. I love a lot of the miserable side of the UK. I actually quite like. So does my fiance, and I've always been here. But I am one of the only ones left now. I'm sort of into my 30s. My sort of friendship group, they've all done all right. They've all disappeared. I'm literally the last one left, and my twin brother. And I think we've got a big issue with wealth, and not just people that have made money, but the people that are making money, and particularly as well, and I think this is the biggest issue, the people that have not been paying in for the past 30 years and being completely clobbered on their taxes and paid stamp duty and all the VAT bills and all the rest of it that goes with it. Yeah. It's the people that will be about to be doing that. So you've got these guys in their 20s, these kids that are into their tech, into their crypto, into NFTs and all these sorts of things I don't really understand because I'm too old and my back hurts. But these people that will be the future millionaires, we're not even taking, as a country, we're taking nothing out of these people. They're just going. They're going before they even make their money. And that is going to create a void that we're going to start see playing out, I think, over the next couple of decades. And that's my big concern. We've got these bright, hardworking, entrepreneurial, real kind of key people in society that we haven't even seen blossom yet. They're disappearing. They're all with you in Dubai. I think you're probably quite similar to me in that you don't spend money on things like champagne in clubs, drugs, just all these transient things. If you do put your money into I will only spend money on something that I can resell on a rainy day for the same or more. I'll only spend money on that. So I actually will not spend money on first class flights. I don't do PJs. I won't spend proper money on hotels, anything like that, because I can't sell it a week later if I have to. But I will spend money on cars. I will spend money on watches, because I understand the market and I know that worst case scenario, you might lose a chunk, but you've still got something there. And in that instance as well, you could have done the value of that F12 on a couple of trips to Maldives, blah, blah, blah.
Probably did.
A few glowing bottles in a club with sparklers hanging out of them and all the rest of it. But you had that option there. You A, bought something you loved, but you B, had that. You still had a war chest that you enjoyed, that you had that option that you could just say, all right then, mate, sod off, have this, and off you go.
You see, cars obviously is a big thing between us both, and you're absolutely right. We talk about this one scenario. I think in fairness to Andrew, before he met me, always liked cars. Is it fair to say, since we met,
for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Bad influence.
Definitely.
You're allowed to say it.
Yeah, definitely. But there's one thing, you get this as well. I said to Andrew, we were doing a death row case in Miami a few years ago, and we were sat in the hotel room. I said, come on. I'm trying to push it, like, what, you can get anything you want now. What do you want? And he's like, I envisage one day that I'll have this car on the drive and this car on the drive. I was like, you'll do that. So the first car he wanted was a Bentley. And I said to him, the reason why I ask you for this is not just to trophy all your hard work, is that long day in court when you're in London and you get the train back, whether it's from Birmingham International or Manchester or wherever you are, it's that bit where the parking lot's dead and empty, it's freezing, you want to get home and see your kids, and you literally go up in the elevator or the stairs and you click it and you just see your car and you think, you know what, not everyone likes cars like we do, which is fine, everyone has different passions, but that feeling's still there, isn't it?
100%. 100%. There's obviously a whole host of reasons why you do it. If you're to ask yourself why you do it, and family's a massive one of that. But there also needs to be, you need to enjoy the journey, because look, you never know how long the journey is going to last, and without getting too deep, you never know what's around the corner. So you've got to enjoy it whilst you're doing it. And in that situation, when you've just done a 14-hour day of court and then conferences after court, and you come back and you get into your car and you think, this is still really cool, this Porsche.
Ultimately, right, we are, to all intents and purposes, we are just cavemen with slightly nicer clothes and computers, right? Yeah. And, cavemen were gathering nice shiny rocks in their cave and drawing on the wall or whatever they were doing. I don't quite know. But it's exactly the same thing, right? We like toys, and, some people are into different things, and whatever makes your life more interesting and more enjoyable, and actually all the nonsense that comes with working hard and achieving stuff, particularly in this sphere that we're in, it makes it slightly more pleasant. We're all on a conveyor belt, and you don't know how long that conveyor belt is.
We're all dying.
Can drop off.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all dying. There we go. That's the take-home message of today. But you're right. So, if that makes things slightly more palatable, and actually, even if, and I'm kind of reaching this stage now with some of the shiny stuff, some of the toys, even if you do it just to teach yourself that actually that wasn't quite as fun as you thought it might be. When you're a kid and you see a man in a Ferrari and you think, wow, that looks really fun. Now I know when I see someone in a Ferrari, their back probably hurts. They're probably paying 9% APR on it. Their servicing bills are horrendous. They're watching out for every pothole under the sun, and they're worried that they've lost 60 grand on the thing. When you're a kid, you don't realize. And actually now I've seen I've gone behind the curtain, and now I'm coming out the other side of it before I've fully hit middle age, that now I don't need to have a midlife crisis because I've already done it.
Yeah.
I just have a crisis instead.
But I think, there's that thing, isn't there, of always wanting what the guy on the other side of the fence has got. And I think as you get older, you kind of realise that you don't need to be doing that. No. You just do what makes you happy, and what makes you guys happy and me happy, maybe not to the same extent as you two, is...
Have you guys got dogs?
Yeah. Dogs.
Yeah. Dogs. I don't have kids, so dogs is the closest thing I've got.
Okay,
so,
yeah, we've got we got a chocolate lab, and then we rescued his brother, and we got a parrot as well.
A parrot?
Yeah, a rescued parrot.
That is chaos.
Just left at the door.
That's a separate video.
2 kids, a parrot, 2 chocolate labs.
We've got a spaniel. Chaos, utter chaos.
Perfect.
Yeah.
They're the best.
Crazy
Absolute
decision,
best.
that.
We should all learn from dogs, not from the eating poo part, but like, yeah, there's a lot of lessons we can learn from dogs. 100%.
Definitely.
Is there if you had to choose one car today for the rest of your life?
I'm so miserable and grumpy. Range Rover.
Oh, why? Actually, no, I never thought that. I thought you would have said probably an F12 or your Porsche or the Jeep.
Well, one car that I had to just use every single day.
Okay. We're going to give you. We'll give him the death row questions in a minute. We'll give you a little questionnaire from the criminal lawyers. But no, the first question from cars is: you literally walk out here, and that's the car you've got forever. One car.
And I can't resell it. It doesn't matter what it's
it doesn't
worth.
matter about landscape or the roads. It's just that it's there.
It's going to be really boring. Just the car I've already got. I love my 997 GT3 RS.
Nice. Very nice.
Because it's not about resale value on that one particularly. It's not the most expensive car, but it at the moment, given a sunny day and an afternoon of people leaving me alone, which never happens, but you know, if I just had them all laid out, you know, perfect situation, all the keys there, sunny day, you know, quiet phone, which would I grab the key for?
Great choice.
Okay.
That's the car, so I guess that's probably
Great
the answer. They're fantastic. You're a 911 guy now, aren't you?
I am a 911 guy.
Screwed. It's a slippery slope. You've had it.
So I hear once you have one, you never have one, so to speak.
You're in trouble now.
Was it Christmas time we talked about that, wasn't it?
Yeah, January. Yeah, it's January. So we're 4 months into 911 life, and it's difficult to look elsewhere, to be honest.
Well, you'll retool. So you're not getting in a Hurricane. Have you tried?
Really?
Should we just try and fold him into this car? Just
No, it's actually.
You know what? Go on.
I will in a minute. I was in Dubai with Adam last week.
Already been to it.
And yeah, amazing cars. Storato.
Really?
And do you know what? The Dubai roads are actually, I was really impressed with that car. It went over speed bumps in Dubai and potholes in Dubai with ease. So actually a really practical Lamborghini.
Yeah.
But I just don't fit in a Lamborghini. So
try a Spider as well, because the seats ram forward and it's bumped up. I don't know what they've done with the Spider, but the convertible one's even worse. So
really?
You literally, I think your nose would be above the windscreen.
It'd be like, do you know Mario Kart?
Yeah.
You got Bowser.
Or Diddy Kong Racing.
So the 911 is a perfect sports car, but when you're 6 foot, best part of 6'5", you can drive it pretty.
Is that where you're stopping then? Are you stopping with Porsche?
Probably the G-Wagon actually. So a G-Wagon is my other car, and that is just a bit like your Range Rover answer. You kind of.
It's a home from home. I found with my Range Rover. I don't have one anymore. I just got a Defender. Times are tough, but you know, I'll be back.
That tax man just keeps.
Commercial vehicle. It's. I went through a phase though. All the new Range Rovers, I'd get them, and then they were going for over list price. So I went through 3 of the things, just flipped 3 on the bounce, and then this deal came up on Defenders for like £300 a month. I don't need back seats, so I thought, do you know what? Range Rover's a bit expensive now just to go smashing round in, and I couldn't face driving around in the old one. The shame of it. So. Just
going back to Andrew's answer to his car question, where would he go from a GTS?
GT3. And then you probably regret it and go back to a GTS, because a GTS does everything a GT3 does, just in more comfort.
Because his GTS and my GT3 RS are exactly the same on the insurance.
Yeah. Try a GT3. I think if you go from 992 GTS to 992 GT3, I think that the difference will be, unless you really like doing track days and all that kind of stuff.
That's exactly what I said.
That was me on a steering wheel, by the way. It wasn't me doing it. The 992 GT3, though, is very, very compromised. I think you'd have to go back a couple of generations of GT3 to find something that would be livable with. The 992 GT3 RS is actually better to live with, apart from the fact that people are going to hate you because of the spoiler on the GT3 RS. The suspension's more tunable and it's a lot softer, but the 992 GT3, I had a touring. It was so compromised. It was tramlining all over the place with the UK roads. I hated the thing, and it felt huge. I think the GTS, I've driven one of those around Europe, and it's just fantastic. Just does everything.
It's a brilliant car.
Absolutely everything, and they're rapid.
Yeah.
We were on the way to the Cotswolds yesterday. I was behind him in mine, and I didn't appreciate, literally, when the spoiler came up, it's huge.
It's a massive car.
It's a big beast.
They feel big as well. That's why the magic of the 997, and actually to an extent 991 generation, a kind of sweet spot 911 for me. But if you're going to get 992, 992 GTS, I think it's probably, or Turbo S actually. Yeah. Turbo S maybe, but I don't think you're going to notice the difference really between the GTS and the Turbo S.
I think the look. Actually, do you know? I'm not just saying this. I prefer the look of the GTS to the turbo. That's my opinion.
Turbo S with the aero kit and the square exhaust, which everyone gets annoyed about, which is the non-sport exhaust, I think looks good. Right. But is it worth another 30 grand, 40 grand, 50 grand? What's the difference? I don't know. I wouldn't bother.
Comes back to that satisfaction. If you keep striving for something else, you're never truly satisfied, are you?
And also, like an extra 40 grand, 50 grand on the car, that's just like that one notch up. Yeah, exactly. What do you have to earn before tax to pay for that? Like 80, 90 grand that's costing you, really?
Yeah.
No.
Well, before we finish, we're going to ask you this question we're going to ask everyone. It's called the death row meal.
Great.
Last meal. So, for example, mine would be steak tartare, a steak, I know you don't eat any meat, followed by a cheese board.
Right.
I reckon yours is scallop steak, cheesecake.
Something along those lines, yeah.
Well, I'm vegan, so it'd just be lettuce.
For starter, main.
Death row meal.
Do you know what? I wouldn't want to go out going back on what I believe in. So I wouldn't want to do the last thing I do to go back on something that I believe in. So I wouldn't eat meat or anything like that, as much as it is delicious. What would I have? What's nice vegan food? Nothing, really. No, I'm joking.
You're going to help the vegans out there by telling them what your death row meal would be like.
It's quite a pretty niche thing, isn't it? Telling any vegans out there on death row, I think they've probably already given it more thought than me. I did have 3D printed steak once, which was very nice. This little place called Petty Beef Bar in Chelsea. There's like a steak restaurant. They do like Wagyu beef and all the kind of expensive beefs and whatever. But they did a 3D printed steak. It was really, really, really nice. You're probably just thinking that sounds like hell, aren't you?
No,
I don't really understand it.
No, nor me, but I gobbled it down and it tasted like dead animals, which was... I love the taste of meat. I have no problem with eating meat. It's literally just the death side of it. So so there's nothing to do with the environment. I mean, hopefully there's a plus point there. Nothing to do with health. Again, hopefully there's a plus point there. It's literally just death and suffering. That's it. That's the only issue I have really with it. So yeah, 3D printed steak for main course. Do you know what? I'm really unfussy eater. Apart from not eating animal products, I actually will eat anything. As long as it's not going to make me throw up. That's kind of my baseline.
That's a good answer.
Vegans saying they're not fussy.
That was the worst answer ever.
I don't think it was a bad answer.
You got a lot more notes with it than you probably wanted. You wanted just an answer.
Don't worry about this for the cameras. Just curious, was it just something you saw on TV which stopped you eating, or was it this years ago?
I got a puppy. I got a little fat boy, my little bulldog, who my mate gave me. I got him a deal on a 458, this fella that I knew, and he lived in my development. He had 2 bulldogs, and I was always harassing him about his bulldogs. I'd always see him, and I'd be on the floor with his dogs, annoying him, texting him, where are you, where are your dogs, can I see your dogs? Harassing him. And then he wanted a 458, and he was like, Tom, you're a car guy, help me out. So I went and filmed with the dealership that he was getting his 458 from, and they wanted the exposure, so they gave him 5-6 grand off the car, which they might have done anyway, to be fair. And he said, Tom, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You know, my bulldogs just had puppies and you annoy the hell out of me about my dog. Do you just want your own one so you can basically leave me alone? And I said, yeah, I'll have one. And he WhatsApped me a video of all these little buggers like headbutting each other and whatever. And there was one that was being particularly obnoxious. And that was my dog Crisps. His name's Crisps. And so yeah, I don't know what the question was. I just started talking about dogs.
Thank you. Honestly, I really appreciate it today, mate. You've been brilliant.
Thank you very much, sir. Rock, paper, scissors. There we go. You get one as well. Thank you very much, sir.
No, thank you. You've been a star, mate.
Are we getting him in the Hurricane now?